Hello again. Um, whew, I got a lot to talk about this week, but I guess, again, as usual, easiest place to start is goals, which I also have something semi-important to talk about pertaining to goals, but just to track progress in general so far. Um, Honestly, this week has been rather exhausting, as I'll get into a bit later. There were certainly a lot of ups and downs during it, but as far as things actually go, I didn't fail any of the goals. I technically didn't complete some of them. For a big example, I realize I definitely fucked up in my wording a little bit. Like, I truly messed up in terms of wording, because specifically on brushing teeth, I didn't specify that I didn't needed to do it twice a day, and so my weakness of just forgetting about it immediately comes back because, well, I already did it once a day and it just kind of checks off in my mind. So that kind of becomes an issue. I mean, I'm going to count it because that is how I worded it, but next month I'm not allowing myself that leeway because wow, that's a mess up I didn't even anticipate. I didn't even expect that. The implication was there when I wrote it down, but I should also know that if I don't want to do something, I really know how to weasel my way out of it. So that was a major mess up from me. I'll make sure not to make it again, because, wow, talk about a screw up. Um, Aside from that, vacuuming has been going well, with the exception of Monday. Monday in particular, because on Saturday night, I went to sleep at the usual time, and then I got woken up by my dog, not that one, the other one, Loki, in the middle, not in the middle of the night, at like 4 in the morning, from him vomiting, which that'll lead into something a little later, and that was naturally Monday morning, and so since I didn't go back to sleep, I felt like shit the rest of the day. I did vacuum, to be clear, but I certainly didn't vacuum in the way I typically want to, which, is full clean. Instead, I just used the nozzle, which did help, but I could definitely see the results of me not fully vacuuming on Monday today, because I also decided to vacuum before this video because I wanted to see yada yada. Also be able to say, I did it. So, yeah. Um, yeah. Monday certainly put this week off to a rocky start, especially the weekend because that's something to get into later. Um, but that would also translate through to other parts of the week where all the way up until Wednesday, no, all the way up until Thursday, I was feeling very tired and very stressed. It just overall has not been a super great week. Of course, on Thursday, I kind of bounced back and recovered, and I'm back to normal today. I didn't let any of the stress kind of override my striving for goals, but there is an there's an interesting correlation. It might not be causation, but that I think it's partially there of usage of porn to amount of stress that I'm feeling. So yeah, I can easily say this because on Tuesday I was incredibly stressed, and so it followed through in numbers. Didn't go over 4. Hell, it only went to 3, which is kind of my soft cap. I think I know I can go to 4, but eh. So I went to 3, and that's pretty much my maximum. So if I'm really stressed, I'll go to that number. If I'm not, I'll either stay at 2 or just go to 1. As a matter of fact, when I was feeling much less stressed on Thursday, when I recovered and bounced back and felt fine, I struggled to even want to do it once. I mean, I did because again, my body was urging me to, and I felt obligated to, especially since it's one of my free days. Who cares? but I was certainly struggling a lot. So interesting little correlation there. Might need to look into ways to sort of handle my stress better or curb my stress, one or the other. There are also there also may be um, certain thoughts that I have that make it seem like I have a lot less stress than I'm actually dealing with, because particularly from my own headspace, my own conscious mind, I don't really see much of a reason to be stressed. I mean, what could I be stressed about? I'm unemployed and I'm doing basically nothing. So it doesn't. I know there's a small correlation. It's not entirely causal. I know that for sure, but it can definitely be one of the factors that absolutely helps in causing it. So that might be something to look into. Just healthier ways to deal with stress, as well as just overall trying to strengthen my mind and maybe understand my mind a little better as to why I don't think certain things are stressful when maybe they are. Just seems like there might be a little more to that than I am fully letting on to myself. And aside from teeth brushing being kind of inconsistent, I'm not doing it twice a day like I want to, like I insinuated. Instead, I'm doing it once a day, but I am keeping to at least doing it once whenever the day goal is. So I can definitely take some pride in that, and my teeth are feeling much better as a result. I can attest to that with no issue. God, my I think I say this every single time. Whenever I get onto a more stable schedule of brushing my teeth have never felt better before, and that's just kind of always how it feels. So I know my teeth have probably felt much better, especially when for like a whole month I was able to consistently brush my teeth twice a day every week, and then burn myself out for the next 3 months, which that's that's a pretty important story. But oh, my dog is having a nightmare, or something that's provoking him to sort of whelp in his sleep. Um, but back on topic, yeah, just overall, teeth brushing has been very helpful. The vacuuming certainly could use some work, but I do understand why I wasn't able to do it, especially with something like sleep deprivation like that. I was legitimately feeling like ill. I was feeling woozy. I didn't want to move around too much because I kind of felt a nausea, which makes sense when you don't fucking sleep. So I can't really add any great insight to that. That's just the way it is. Um, as far as minor goals, I have touched a couple of them, but I haven't like completed any of them. And honestly, since they're minor goals, there's not much of a reason to fully comment on it until I'm done. So, for example, I'm currently playing Stalker. If I do finish it, I'm going to offer my insight on the game. Maybe I'll talk about the story a little bit and then move on. So, otherwise, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go too deep into it. It seems more like a waste to do it now, as this is more of a mental note for myself for later. Um, Now, we're done with goals. Time to get on to why this week was incredibly stressful. I believe it started on Saturday, then to Sunday, Monday. Yeah. Yes, because that would be 3 full days. On Saturday, my dog, not that one, the other one, Loki, the one who was whelping just recently, um, he he became ill, and the only way I knew this was because he pretty much just stopped moving. He was completely out of the ordinary. He's typically a super hyper dog. He loves to play. He's a puppy still. Like this just makes sense for him, right? And one day he just stops and starts laying in the tile, typically in a place where he usually lays, right next to the water dish, and stops eating all his food. I thought that was just a common sign of sickness. That's fine. We'll just help him through it, let him sort of handle this. That dog right there, Thor, had the same thing. He was, at one point, he was ill. He didn't really want to move too much. We just added some incentivizations to his food, and he worked through the illness pretty well. He ate all his food. It was pretty easy to get him to recover. The second day was when things started getting truly weird because, while on the first day he was mostly just ill, but he would still eat his food. Maybe not nearly as much, but he would still eat, so much so that he ended up clearing the bowl out. The second day, he wouldn't move almost at all unless I opened the door for him to go to the bathroom. I gave him food, he would not eat it. I put the food next to him, he would not eat it. And it just kind of and it just kind of stayed like that the whole day. Then the next day, Monday, he started vomiting. Actually, no. It's more fitting to say he vomited once on Sunday, I believe, which is kind of what ticked me off to something being up. And then during the middle of the night, from Sunday to Monday, he vomited, and hence why I got no sleep. And this like truly ticked me off that he's got to be ill. Now, I'll go into my feelings after this part. I'll just narrate here as to what exactly happened. Um, on Monday, things just seemed to get worse. He kept vomiting. My mom got a couple of things from the store to sort of entice him to eat. None of it worked. All of it failed. So, I mean, that just sucks a lot. But he would keep vomiting literally nothing. He would only drink water. And by the tail end of Monday, he wouldn't even get up whenever I opened the door. On Tuesday, I looked up some of the things and decided to see when exactly I should take my dog to the vet. Admittedly, common sense would tell me, take him on Monday. Tell your mom he needs to be taken the moment he starts throwing up while doing nothing. And apparently I don't have fucking common sense because I had to have a goddamn article tell me that. We took him on Tuesday. He was in such bad shape that we literally had to carry him out to the truck and carry him into the truck, the heavy little bastard, who also happens to be overweight, which is most certainly my fault for not taking him on a walk, and I can guarantee that guy over there is certainly overweight too. So, yeah, I I gotta do something about that. But back onto the story, or I guess events. As when we took him to the vet, we got him checked in. You know, it goes as pretty much any doctor's appointment would. Checking stuff, giving estimates for what could happen based off of the things, yada yada. They take him. We're set off to waste I think it was 4 hours until they release him. Release him. Until they are done figuring out what exactly was going on. We watched the Minecraft movie. God, that was horrible. Okay, it wasn't that bad, but we did watch that. We got something to eat, and then we just waited in the parking lot until we got the call to come on in. When we did come on in, he was looking a lot better, but we got the news that his adrenal glands had effectively died, at least stopped working, and so if we didn't bring him in at that moment, if I waited a little longer to tell my mom to contact the vet and get him in, he would have died If I waited longer, I would have had a corpse instead of a dog in my house. So, that's a real comforting thought. Again, I'll talk about my feelings a little after this, but we also learn he has to have a shot each month as well as prescription pills that he takes every single day. Great. That sucks a lot. I know there's probably not, seeing as this is the end, I'll go ahead and get into how I'm feeling about this whole ordeal. For something like this, I know that I probably couldn't have done much if I acted earlier. But I do know that it probably wouldn't have gotten as bad as it was if I did act earlier. If I saw those warning signs and I saw the vomiting and I just took him to the vet, it probably would have been much easier, much less painful for him and me if I took him in earlier and they just saw what was going on and made some guesses as to what could be happening. I'm really disappointed in myself, especially after the death of my previous dog, where I constantly beat myself up over the idea that, well, if I just took her to the vet, she could have lived a little longer, and Thor wouldn't have been left alone. I wouldn't have been left alone. And yeah, a lot of complex feelings for a teenager to feel at the death of what would be one of their best friends. So it was certainly a resurfacing of those feelings, and it pissed me off a lot. It made me angry at myself. It made me angry at just having bad luck, because there's, as the doctor put it, it really is just bad luck. It doesn't seem like they could have done anything to prevent this. There's nothing they could have done. That sucks a lot. That just kind of, not much I can do about that. So, there probably isn't a reason to beat myself up so much about it, but I do anyway. I'm only human. But yeah, everything is much better now. As I said earlier, I'm not nearly as stressed. He's on the up and up. We're doing everything. The most stressful part about it is the fact that the shit can get pretty expensive. So, yeah, that's not great. I suppose aside from all of that, there was one other thing I did want to talk about, and I kind of glossed over because I was very tunnel visioned into that. It does pertain to goals, but I do think this kind of fits in the feelings section. First up, for whatever reason, my last video got a ton of comments. I don't know why. I don't really care why, but some of them were actually rather helpful, and there is one in particular that I would like to highlight. It was addressing something, a sort of, I guess we'll just call it a concept of input goals and output goals, which is, as they explain it, it is focusing more on the process of doing an activity rather than the benefits of doing that activity. So, for example, vacuuming. Why do I want to do it? I never really address it very much when I'm actually talking about it in these videos. I wanted to clean up the house more. That was the whole point of it. But as I continue to do this, I focus more and more on just doing it instead of, like, the actual benefits of doing it, which, when I focus purely on doing it, it makes it a lot harder to motivate myself to actually do it, because, well, then it's just doing something. What's the point of just doing something? It's a whole mental process. And I kind of wanted to, address that because for the most part, they are certainly right. But at the beginning, and oftentimes when I'm addressing it, I do think of what they do for me outside of just doing them. Specifically, when I'm conceptualizing and formulating plans as well as just ideas as to what I want to do, I see what the benefits of it will be. Now, naturally, the benefits aren't really the main focus, which is certainly another part of making it more output goals instead of inputs. But a part of the process is always, what do I gain out of what do I gain out of doing these goals? And I kind of get tunnel visioned a lot of the time into just doing it instead of seeing what I gain out of doing it. And then when I talk about it here, obviously, I obviously I talk about what I gain from it. But what I gain is never really the true focus. It's more about doing it, filling in time, kind of. Yeah, no, just filling in time, wasting whatever days I have left away, which is kind of the wrong way to look at it. It's the entirely wrong way to look at it, not kind of, because I don't actually achieve anything when I kind of ignore what I'm getting from the things I'm doing. Especially when there might be a better method out there to achieve something that I actually do want. Um, I think the biggest example of just wanting to do something would certainly be brushing my teeth. Uh, Porn addiction, particularly, this doesn't apply to at all because every time I think about it, it's not about the act of not watching porn, which the act of not acting isn't necessarily the most difficult thing to do, but still, um, it is more about what I gain from not watching it anymore. Which, I mean, every time I think about it, the only true reason is like just time. I gain way more time. Sure, there are other parts that could definitely be affecting my mental state, but those can also be tackled in entirely different ways fully mitigate to fully mitigate those issues to like nothing. So really, the number one thing I gain from stopping it is time. For vacuuming, another one that I regularly talk about is just in general the house being cleaner and also having less work to do when I inevitably do my vacuuming days. When I was doing one, I would always, without fail, have to clean out the brush. There was just so much hair and dirt, and it would all just get stuck, so I had to go in with scissors to fucking cut up the dog hair and tear it out so it could then be taken in through the hose so it just gets in there without, again, tangling up in the brush. Um, and also, there is another side effect that I also talked about with it not overheating in spring and summer days, more specifically summer, because it gets regularly to 100 here during summer, so naturally the vacuum overheats pretty quick. Today, at like 11, the temp was in the 80s, and if I use the vacuum too long, it'll typically overheat. I did the entire living room floor today, and this is with the not cleaning like super well on Monday. I did the entire living room floor in one go today with no issues, and I didn't even have to clean out the brush. Takes less time. I don't have to clean nearly as much because I'm keeping consistency up. It's just overall a better thing. And I didn't even notice like half of those until I started focusing more on what I gained from doing these actions. Uh, yeah. And as I pointed out, brushing teeth was mostly just, oh, I want to do it more. But I never fully thought about why I wanted to do it more. I mean, naturally, I have been trying to make a lot of healthier life decisions and just become more thoughtful and really just feel better, not feel like shit. And brushing my teeth was a part of that. and I always associated brushing my teeth with feeling better. I never really thought about why my teeth feel better after brushing my teeth. And that's because I'm just cleaning myself. I'm taking care of myself. I never really thought about what I gain from brushing my teeth, just that it's a healthy action and then I have to do it. Kind of like how oftentimes when I wanted to set up a workout routine, it never worked because I never thought about what I gain out of it. I was just, I need to waste time. Let's do that. And the only time I would think about what I gain out of it is when I would just need to, when I was trying to also fix my sleep schedule by exhausting myself, which didn't work. So yeah, the that comment in particular was very helpful about simply just about that. It was incredibly insightful, and it just pointed out something I never really thought about. So that username is, I'm just gonna say thank you, Flat Circle, because the at is not the most intuitive to say or look at, really. So thank you, Flat Circle. That was very, very helpful. There was one other from, I think, Zverns 2.0 that was also rather helpful. It was mostly about the boredom I've been feeling, and more of a question than anything that allowed me to sort of uh, give a more pointed answer, and just made me think a little more about how I approach boredom as a whole. So, yeah, just overall pretty helpful. Thank you to the both of you if you are watching this video. Um, honestly, this week, despite how stressful it's been and how vexing it's been, like just truly a strain on me as a person, it was very helpful. Again, even if it had, if we removed that entirely, the week as a whole would have been really good. We just can't quite remove that, so I have to call this week sort of a really mixed bag. Bunch of negative, a real negative, but some also really good positives. So I can't exactly hate on that. I remember wanting to say something, and then it just left my brain. That's been happening an awful lot lately. I need to look into that. In any case, since I have nothing left to talk about, I will see myself next time.